Some debts are paid in money, others in blood, and some in the surrender of your own heart. Isabella Cardoso thought she knew sacrifice. 3 jobs, 16-hour days, sending money across continents to keep her mother alive, while raising her younger brother in a country that still felt foreign after 2 years. But sacrifice has levels. And tonight, staring at her brother Lucas's bruised face, his eyes swollen shut, blood crusting his split lip, she was about to discover a deeper circle of hell. "It was just an accident, Bella," Lucas whispered, his 19-year-old voice cracking. His hands trembled as he touched his ribs, wincing. Isabella knew her brother, knew the way his left eye twitched when he lied, knew the shame that made him unable to meet her gaze. She'd practically raised him after their father died, after their mother's diagnosis drained every reel they had. "What did you do, Lucas?" The apartment was small, a 1-bedroom in a neighborhood where gunshots were background noise. Isabella had given Lucas the bedroom, sleeping on a worn couch that smelled of someone else's cigarettes. The walls were thin enough to hear their neighbors' arguments, their lovemaking, their lives playing out in stereo. Lucas finally looked at her, tears streaming down his face. I wanted to help. You work so hard, Bella. I saw an opportunity to make quick money. I thought, tell me. I borrowed from some people. For an investment. It was supposed to triple in a month." Isabella's blood went cold. She was 24 years old, studying criminal law at night while working breakfast shifts at a diner, afternoons cleaning offices, evenings waiting tables at an upscale restaurant where the tips sometimes matched her hourly wages combined. She knew what borrowed from some people meant in their neighborhood. How much? Lucas's silence was an answer unto itself. The knock came 3 days later. Not a polite knock, the kind that splinters your sense of safety. Isabella had just gotten home from her morning shift, her feet aching, coffee stains on her uniform. 4 men filled their doorway. Expensive suits that didn't match the violence in their eyes. The one in front, silver rings on every finger, a scar bisecting his left eyebrow, smiled like a predator. Lucas Cardoso. Her brother emerged from the bedroom, and Isabella watched him transform into someone small, terrified, barely recognizable. "You have 2 weeks, Scar Eyebrow said, his accent thick, somewhere between Mexico City and deliberate menace. $200,000. Plus interest. $5,000 per day. The number hit Isabella like a physical blow. She stepped forward instinctively, putting herself between these men and her brother. "There's been a mistake. He's just a kid. He doesn't have." The man's hand shot out, gripping her jaw with crushing force, tilting her face toward the dying afternoon light filtering through their grimy window. "Beautiful," he murmured, almost thoughtful. Then he released her, and she tasted blood from where her teeth had cut the inside of her cheek. 2 weeks, or we start with his fingers, then move to more essential parts. You understand." They left. The apartment felt smaller, the air thinner. Lucas collapsed, sobbing. I'm so sorry, Bella, I thought." But Isabella wasn't listening. Her mind was already calculating, solving an impossible equation. Her savings, $8,000. Her mother's treatments couldn't stop. Rent was due. Her tuition payment was in 10 days. $200,000. She had 1 week before the debt grew beyond even fantasy. 1 week to save her brother's life. And absolutely no idea how. Desperation is a country with no map. You wander its territories, each choice darker than the last, until you find yourself standing at doors you swore you'd never knock on. Isabella Cardoso stood outside El Serpiente Dorado at 2 in the morning, her hands shaking despite the humid Miami heat. The nightclub's neon sign cast everything in sickly green, like she was already drowning. She'd spent 6 days trying everything legal. Loan applications, denied, her credit too thin, her collateral non-existent. She'd begged her restaurant manager for an advance. He'd laughed, asked if she was joking. She called every distant relative, every friend from Brazil, finding only sympathy and empty promises. The math was brutal and simple. In 8 days, men would return to hurt Lucas. In their world, threats weren't metaphors, which left illegal options, which led her here. Research had cost her 48 sleepless hours. Lucas's debt belonged to Emiliano Rodriguez, a name spoken in whispers, a Mexican cartel boss who'd expanded north, who controlled 3 states' worth of drug traffic, gun running, human trafficking. A man whose photograph didn't exist online, whose presence was marked only by the bodies left behind. El Serpiente Dorado was his front, a legitimate business wrapped around something rotting. Isabella had dressed carefully, a black dress that hugged her curves, makeup that made her look older, confident, like she belonged in places where fortunes were gambled and lives were traded. Her reflection in the club's mirrored entrance showed someone she barely recognized. The bouncer was a mountain of muscle, tattoos crawling up his neck. No unescorted ladies. I'm here to see Mr. Rodriguez. Her voice didn't shake. Small miracle. Tell him Isabella Cardoso needs to discuss her brother's debt. The bouncer's expression shifted, surprise, then something like pity. He spoke into a radio, words too quiet to catch. A minute passed. 2. Isabella's heart was a drum against her ribs. 3rd floor. Last door. Try anything stupid, you don't leave. The club's interior was all red velvet and gold fixtures. Beautiful people draped over leather couches. Music pulsing like a living thing. Isabella climbed stairs that felt like a descent, each step taking her further from the person she'd been. The 3rd floor was quieter. Serious. Men in suits stood at intervals, earpieces visible, guns probably closer. The last door was mahogany, expensive, the kind that swallowed sound. She knocked. Enter. Emiliano Rodriguez sat behind a desk that probably cost more than her yearly salary, his back to floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking Miami's glittering skyline. He was younger than she'd expected, maybe 40, handsome in a way that felt dangerous, his suit tailored to perfection. He didn't turn around. Isabella Cardoso, the sister who works 3 jobs, who sends money to Sao Paulo every month, who's studying criminal law at night. He swiveled now, his smile sharp as broken glass. I know everything about everyone who owes me money. It's good business. My brother made a mistake. Isabella forced herself to meet his eyes. He's 19. Stupid. I'll work off his debt. I'll do anything. Anything. Emiliano's laugh was soft, vicious. Careful with that word, querida. It opens doors you might not want to walk through. I'm serious. He studied her for a long moment, his gaze traveling over her body with clinical assessment, like she was livestock. You're beautiful. I could use you in a dozen ways. Most of them would break you within a month. Isabella's stomach turned, but she kept her face neutral. Name your price. Interesting. Emiliano stood, circling his desk, each step deliberate. He stopped close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive, woody, underlaid with cigar smoke. I was planning to kill your brother. Make an example. But you present an opportunity. What kind of opportunity? I have a rival. Francesco Russo. He controls the Eastern Territories, my territories by rights. He's young, successful, ruthless, also annoyingly principled for someone in our profession. Emiliano's smile widened. I want his empire, and you're going to help me take it. I don't understand. You're going to seduce him. Get close. Learn his operations, his weaknesses, his secrets. Feed everything to me. When the time is right, we'll destroy him. And your brother's debt? Forgiven. You'll never hear from me again. The room tilted. You want me to what? Be a spy? I'm a waitress studying law, not some kind of, you're whatever I need you to be. Emiliano cut in, his voice dropping to something cold and final. Or Lucas loses his fingers first, then his hand. Then we get creative. $200,000, Isabella. Growing every day. You'll never earn that much in your lifetime. She thought of Lucas's face, bruised and terrified. Thought of her mother in Sao Paulo, frail from chemotherapy, kept alive by monthly transfers Isabella could barely afford. Thought of the life she'd imagined. Finishing law school, maybe helping people, making something of the sacrifice her father made bringing them to America. All of it evaporating in this red-lit office, facing a man who traded in human suffering. Ow! Her voice came out hoarse. How am I supposed to seduce someone I've never met? Emiliano returned to his desk, pulling out a folder thick with papers. Francesco Russo, 32 years old, second-generation Italian. Father came from Sicily. Built his empire from nothing. Actually impressive, if I'm being honest. He's single, keeps to himself, doesn't trust easily. Not since his last girlfriend tried to set him up 3 years ago. He slid the folder across. His favorite bar. His schedule. His business fronts. Everything you need. You have 2 weeks to make contact, get close. After that, I want weekly reports. Isabella's hands moved without permission, opening the folder. A photograph stared back at her. A man with dark hair, sharp features, a tattoo visible on his neck, even in the surveillance photo. Handsome. Dangerous. Her target. Her victim. And if I can't do this? Emiliano's smile disappeared. Then I'll make you watch while my men take your brother apart. Slowly. Creatively. And when he's dead, we'll move to your mother. International reach is a beautiful thing, Isabella. Sao Paulo is just a phone call away. The threat hung in the air, crystalline and absolute. Do we have an understanding? Isabella looked at the folder, at her brother's death sentence, at the impossible choice between complicity in destroying a stranger or losing everything she loved. She nodded. Good. Emiliano gestured to the door. You're dismissed. Oh, and Isabella? Don't think about going to the police. I own half of them. The other half wouldn't believe you anyway. She walked out, the folder burning against her chest like stolen fire. In the club's bathroom, she locked herself in a stall and finally let herself shake. Let herself taste the bile of what she'd just agreed to. She was going to ruin someone's life. Betray them. All to save her own brother. The girl in the bathroom mirror. Makeup smeared. Eyes red. Wasn't anyone she recognized. But she would have to become her anyway. They say knowledge is power. But sometimes, knowledge is just a longer rope to hang yourself with. 3 days. That's how long Isabella spent transforming into someone who could do this. Her apartment became a war room. The folder Emiliano had given her spread across every surface. Surveillance photos, business records, property deeds, known associates. Francesco Russo's life, reduced to data points and patterns. But Isabella needed more than facts. She needed to understand him. She started with the basics. Francesco owned 3 legitimate businesses. An upscale nightclub called Paradiso, a chain of Italian restaurants, and a real estate development company. The operations looked clean on paper. Taxes paid, employees legal, everything by the book. Except they weren't. Isabella's criminal law courses had taught her read between lines. The restaurant supply costs were inflated. The nightclub's revenue patterns suggested money laundering. The real estate deals involved properties in neighborhoods where urban renewal meant displacing families. Francesco Russo was exactly what Emiliano had promised. A criminal dressed in respectability. So why did Isabella feel guilty? She pushed the thought aside. Lucas was alive because she was doing this. Her mother would receive next month's treatment money. Everything else was noise. At her morning diner shift, Isabella moved through orders mechanically, her mind elsewhere. She discovered Francesco's routine. Thursdays at Paradiso until midnight, overseeing operations. Fridays at his office, doing actual real estate work. Saturdays, and this fascinated her, Saturdays he disappeared. No surveillance, no sightings. Whatever he did on Saturdays was private. Table 6 needs a refill, her manager barked, snapping her back to reality. Isabella grabbed the coffee pot, forcing a smile she didn't feel. The customer, an older woman with kind eyes, thanked her, and the simple kindness made Isabella want to cry. What was she becoming? That afternoon, between her cleaning job and evening shift, Isabella did something reckless. She went to Paradiso. The nightclub was closed, but she could see through the windows. Velvet ropes, a marble bar, crystal chandeliers that probably cost more than her education. A man was inside, directing workers repositioning furniture. Not Francesco. She'd memorized his face. This was someone else, stockier, with graying temples. Probably a manager. Can I help you? Isabella spun. A young woman stood behind her, early 20s, pretty, wearing Paradiso's staff uniform. Oh, I'm sorry. I heard you guys are hiring. The lie came easily. Too easily. The woman's expression softened. Always. Bartenders, servers, security. Pays good. Mr. Russo treats people right. She said his name with genuine warmth. You want an application? Maybe. What's he like? As a boss. The woman considered. Intense. Expects perfection. But fair. He fired a manager last month for grabbing one of the waitresses. Just She snapped her fingers. Gone? Most bosses wouldn't care. Isabella filed this away. Sounds decent. He is. The woman checked her phone. Look, I've got to run, but come by Tuesday for open interviews. Mention Sophia sent you. As Sophia walked away, Isabella stood there, troubled. Emiliano had painted Francesco as ruthless, cruel, deserving of destruction. But the picture emerging was more complicated. She thought of the photograph again, that tattoo on his neck. In one surveillance image, she'd been able to make out details. A date, rendered in Roman numerals. 15.7.mxv. July 15th, 2015. What happened that day? That evening, Isabella served drinks at the upscale restaurant, smiling through her exhaustion. A couple celebrated their anniversary. A businessman closed a deal. Normal people, living normal lives, unaware that in the corner booth, a waitress was planning to destroy someone's world. After her shift, she returned to her apartment to find Lucas on the couch, his bruises fading to yellow-green. You look tired, he said quietly. I'm always tired. Bella. His voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I should have known it was too good to be true. Easy money. I just wanted to help. I know. She sat beside him, suddenly too exhausted for anger. I'm handling it. Ow. She couldn't tell him. Couldn't explain that she'd sold her soul, that she was becoming exactly the kind of person their father had moved them to America to escape. I'm working it out. Don't worry. But Lucas did worry. She saw it in his eyes. The guilt, the fear, the knowledge that his sister was sacrificing something fundamental to save him. That night, Isabella returned to her research. She found Francesco's favorite bar, a place called Lombardi's, an old-school establishment in Little Italy. He went there Thursday nights after closing Paradiso, usually arriving around midnight, always alone. She studied the bar's layout through online photos and reviews. Intimate. Classic. The kind of place where a spilled drink might lead to conversation. Her plan was simple, almost stupid. Engineer a meeting, apologize profusely, insist on making amends. Coffee. Dinner. Slowly work her way into his life. It felt like plotting a murder. Isabella pulled out her law textbooks, trying to study for an upcoming exam, but the words swam. She kept seeing Francesco's photograph, that tattoo, wondering what kind of man memorialized the date on his skin. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Progress report? Emiliano. Already checking in. She typed back. Thursday. Making contact. The response was immediate. Don't disappoint me, Querida. Your brother's fingers are counting on you. Isabella set the phone down, her hands shaking. She walked to the bathroom, stared at herself in the mirror. The woman looking back had dark circles under her eyes, a hardness around her mouth that hadn't been there 2 weeks ago. You can do this, she whispered. For Lucas. For Mommy. You can do this. But saying it didn't make it true. She returned to the folder, memorizing every detail. Francesco drove a black G-Class Mercedes. He wore custom suits, Italian leather shoes. He was left-handed. He drank Macallan 18 neat. He'd grown up in Brooklyn, lost his father at 16, murdered, the report said, gang violence. That tattoo suddenly made sense. The date his father died. Isabella felt something twist in her chest. She forced it away. Thursday night, she would walk into Lombardi's wearing her most revealing dress. She would accidentally spill a drink on Francesco Russo. She would smile, apologize, charm. She would begin the seduction, and try not to think about what came after. First meetings are strange things. Accidents of timing, collisions of fate. We never know which hello will change everything. Which smile will be the last we recognize as wholly our own. Thursday night arrived, like an execution date. Isabella had called in sick to her evening shift, the first time in 2 years. Her manager had been annoyed, but she'd manufactured a convincing cough. She couldn't afford to lose any job, but she couldn't afford to miss this window either. She'd spent the day in preparation. Hair washed, dried, styled into loose waves. Makeup applied with unusual care. Smoky eyes, red lips, the armor of femininity. And the dress, black, fitted, with a neckline that was provocative but not desperate, a slit that showed leg without screaming. Lucas watched her transform from the doorway, his expression complicated. You look different, he said. I need to look different. Bella, what are you really doing? She met his eyes in the mirror. Saving your life. Don't ask questions you don't want answered. He left her alone after that. At 11:45 p.m., Isabella stood outside Lombardi's, her heart aright. The bar was exactly as she'd imagined. Brick facade, a neon sign that had probably hung there for 50 years, warm lights spilling onto the street. Through the window, she could see the interior. Dark wood, leather booths, bottles lined up like soldiers behind the bar. A handful of customers, older men, mostly, nursing drinks, watching a baseball game on the television. No Francesco yet. Isabella entered, her heels clicking on hardwood. The bartender, gray-haired, weathered face, nodded at her. She took a seat at the bar, visible but not too obvious, and ordered a glass of red wine. First time here? The bartender asked. Yes. Friend recommended it. Good friend. We don't advertise much. Regulars keep us going. The wine was decent. Isabella sipped slowly, watching the door in the mirror behind the bar. Minutes crawled past. Midnight came and went. What if he didn't show? What if his pattern had changed? At 12:17, the door opened. Francesco Russo walked in, and Isabella's breath caught. Photographs hadn't captured him. Not really. He moved with a predator's grace. Every gesture controlled, purposeful. He wore a dark suit, no tie, the top buttons of his shirt undone. That tattoo was visible now, Roman numerals stark against his skin. He was beautiful in a way that felt dangerous. Francesco nodded at the bartender, clearly irregular, and headed toward the back, to a corner booth half hidden in shadow. His usual spot, if her research was correct. Isabella waited, forced herself to count to 100. Let him settle. Then she stood, her wine glass in hand, and walked toward the restrooms, a path that would take her directly past his booth. This was it, the moment that would change everything. She practiced the stumble, made it look natural. Her heel caught, her body tilted, and the wine glass flew from her hand in a perfect arc, red liquid splashing across Francesco's white shirt. Oh my God, Isabella gasped, the horror in her voice genuine despite the planning. I'm so sorry. Francesco looked down at his ruined shirt, then up at her. His eyes were dark, unreadable. For a heartbeat, she thought she'd miscalculated, that he'd be angry, that this whole plan would collapse before it began. Then he spoke, his voice low, tinged with something like amusement. It's okay. No, it's not okay. Your shirt. He was already standing, moving toward the restrooms. It's fine. Really. Isabella followed, desperation making her bold. Please, I'm so sorry. In the hallway outside the bathrooms, Francesco turned. This close, she could see the details. A small scar above his left eyebrow, laugh lines around his eyes, the way his shirt clung to a body that clearly saw gym time. You follow me to the bathroom. His tone was surprised, maybe intrigued. I want to help. She fumbled in her purse for tissues, pulling out a handful along with some antibacterial wipes. At least let me try to get the stain out before it sets. She stepped closer, reaching toward his chest. Francesco caught her wrist, gently, but firmly. Do you know who I am? The question hung there, loaded. Isabella forced her expression into confusion. Should I? Something shifted in his eyes. He released her wrist, studied her face like he was solving an equation. Most people do, he said finally. In this neighborhood. I'm not from this neighborhood. Clearly. He gestured at the wine stain. Look, I appreciate the concern, but it's just a shirt. I'll get it dry cleaned. Then let me pay for it. Isabella pressed. Please. Or at least let me buy you dinner. Coffee. Something to make up for this. Francesco looked at her for a long moment. Isabella could see him calculating, weighing. She was a stranger who'd spilled wine and didn't seem to know his reputation. Innocent. Harmless. Exactly what she needed him to think. You don't have to. I insist. It's only fair. She watched the decision form. Watched curiosity win over caution. How often did people approach Francesco Russo without an agenda? How often was he just a man in a bar instead of criminal empire? Okay, he said. Coffee. But I picked the place. Deal. Isabella pulled out her phone. Can I get your number? So we can set time. He recited it, and she typed quickly, then sent a text. This is Isabella. The wine girl. Again, so sorry. His phone buzzed. He checked it, a small smile tugging at his mouth. Wine girl. Until I make this up to you, yes. Fair enough. He started toward the restroom, then paused. I'm Francesco, by the way. Isabella. Well, Isabella, I need to attempt salvaging this shirt. I'll text you. He disappeared into the bathroom. Isabella stood there, her heart pounding so hard she felt dizzy. She'd done it. Made contact. The plan was in motion. So why did she feel sick? She returned to the bar, paid for her wine, and left. On the street, the night air felt cold despite the humidity. She walked 3 blocks before stopping, leaning against a building, letting herself shake. Her phone buzzed. A text from Francesco. Have a good night. Try not to assault anyone else with beverages. Despite everything, despite the lies, the manipulation, the trap she was setting, Isabella smiled, then immediately hated herself for it. Another buzz. Different number. Emiliano. Well. Contact made, she typed back. He agreed to coffee. Good girl. Don't fuck this up. Isabella stared at the message, then at Francesco's text above it. 2 men, 2 worlds, and she was caught between them. She walked home through streets that suddenly felt foreign, like she'd crossed into a country where all the old maps were useless. In her apartment, Lucas was asleep on the couch. She covered him with a blanket, brushed his hair back like she had when he was small. I'm sorry, she whispered, though she wasn't sure who she was apologizing to. Her brother? Francesco? Herself? In her room, she changed out of the dress, scrubbed off the makeup, stared at her reflection. The girl looking back had just taken the first step into something she didn't understand. And there was no going back now. Waiting is its own kind of violence. The space between decision and consequence, between hello and whatever comes next. In that silence, we invent 1,000 futures, none of them true. Francesco didn't text for 2 days. Isabella checked her phone obsessively, between orders at the diner, during her cleaning rounds, in quiet moments at the restaurant. Nothing. Doubt crept in with vicious clarity. Had she misread his interest? Had he researched her, discovered the connection to Lucas, to Emiliano? Was he playing his own game? Or worse, was he simply not interested? The thought shouldn't have stung. This was a job, a performance. His interest was a tool, nothing more. But it did sting, which terrified her more than anything. On the 3rd day, Sunday morning, during her diner shift, her phone finally buzzed. Sorry for the delay. Busy week. Still interested in that coffee. Isabella's hands trembled as she typed back. Of course. When works for you? The response came quickly. Tonight? 8 p.m. I know a place. She agreed immediately, then spent the rest of her shift in a fog. Her manager snapped at her twice for zoning out. A customer complained his eggs were cold. Nothing felt real. At 6 p.m., she rushed home to change. Lucas was out, probably at the library, trying to stay busy, stay out of trouble. The apartment felt hollow. Isabella pulled out clothes, rejecting outfit after outfit. Too formal, too casual, too obviously trying. She needed to look good, but not like she was trying to look good. Natural, effortless. She settled on dark jeans, a soft cream sweater that slipped off one shoulder, minimal makeup. Her hair in a loose ponytail. Pretty but approachable. The girl who'd spilled wine, not a seductress. Francesco's text came at 7:45. Address is 2847 Collins Avenue. See you soon. Isabella called an Uber, her stomach a knot. The address was in South Beach, gentrified, expensive, far from her neighborhood. The drive took 20 minutes through Miami's neon-lit streets, past Art Deco buildings and tourists, and people living lives untouched by desperation. The coffee shop was small, tucked between a boutique and a gallery. Through the window, she could see Edison bulbs, exposed brick, mismatched vintage furniture. Pretentious. Charming. Francesco was already there, sitting at a corner table, scrolling through his phone. He wore jeans and a black Henley, looking younger, less intimidating than at Lombardi's. Almost normal. Isabella pushed open the door, and he looked up, smiled. You came. I owed you coffee, she said, sliding into the seat across from him. Pretty sure you owe me dry cleaning. This feels like an upgrade. She laughed, and it felt genuine. I overachieve. They ordered. Isabella got a cappuccino, Francesco an espresso, and then came the strange dance of conversation between strangers. Small talk. Probing. each trying to understand who the other was. So, Francesco said, "Tell me about yourself. Besides assault by wine, what do you do?" Isabella had prepared this answer. Truth mixed with omission, the best lies always were. "I'm studying law, criminal law, specifically, and working a few jobs to pay for it. A few, 3 actually. Morning diner shift, afternoon cleaning offices, evening waiting tables." She shrugged, living the dream. Something shifted in Francesco's expression. Recognition, maybe. Respect. That's intense. Why law? I want to help people. Immigrants, mostly. People who don't know the system, who get taken advantage of. She met his eyes. "My family came from Brazil. It's hard navigating this country when you don't speak the language, don't know your rights." Francesco nodded slowly. "My father came from Sicily. Same story. He did whatever he could to survive. It wasn't always legal, but he did what he had to do." "Yeah." Francesco's voice went quiet. "He did." Silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable, contemplative. Isabella saw an opening. "Can I ask about your tattoo?" "The date." His hand moved unconsciously to his neck. "You're observant. Occupational hazard. Law school." Francesco smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That's the day my father died. I was 16. Got the tattoo when I turned 18. Reminder. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was a long time ago." He sipped his espresso, but it shaped everything after. "You know." Isabella did know. "My father died when I was 20. Heart attack. He'd worked himself into the ground to get us here, to give us opportunities." She paused. "Now I work myself into the ground to honor that." Francesco studied her with new intensity. "You have siblings. A younger brother. Lucas. He's 19. Sweet kid, but..." She stopped, the lie catching in her throat. "He's figuring life out. Aren't we all?" They talked for 2 hours. The coffee grew cold, the shop began to empty, and still they sat there. Francesco asked about Brazil, her studies, her dreams. Isabella answered honestly where she could, crafted careful fictions where she couldn't. And Francesco talked too. About growing up in Brooklyn, about taking over his father's business. He didn't specify what kind, and Isabella didn't push. About the weight of legacy, expectation. "People think it's easy," he said. "Being successful, having money. But everything has a cost. Every choice, every relationship. You're always wondering if it's real or if they want something." The irony was a knife in Isabella's chest. "That sounds lonely," she said softly. "It is." He met her eyes. "Which is why tonight's been nice. You didn't know who I was. You just saw a guy with a wine-stained shirt." Guilt threatened to choke her. She forced a smile. "To be fair, you handled it really gracefully. Some guys would have lost their minds. Life's too short to get upset over clothes. Besides," his smile turned playful. "The company made up for it." Heat crept into Isabella's cheeks. Not fabricated. Real. What was happening? At 10, Francesco walked her outside. The street was quieter now, the South Beach energy focused elsewhere. "I should get an Uber," Isabella said. "Let me drive you." "I insist." Before she could protest, he gestured to the street. A sleek black Mercedes G-Class pulled up. His car. She recognized it from surveillance photos. He opened the passenger door. Isabella hesitated, but refusal would seem strange. She climbed in. The interior smelled like leather and his cologne, something woody, expensive. Francesco drove smoothly, asking for her address. She gave him a location 3 blocks from her real apartment, maintaining the deception. The drive passed in comfortable silence, punctuated by occasional conversation. Too soon, they arrived. "This was nice," Francesco said. "Really nice." It was. "Thank you for coffee. Or for letting me buy you coffee. You know what I mean." He laughed. "I do." He paused. "Can I see you again?" Isabella's heart did something complicated. "I'd like that." "Good. I'll text you." She climbed out, waved, watched him drive away. Then she walked the 3 blocks to her actual building, her mind churning. Inside, Lucas was awake, watching late-night television. "How was work?" he asked. "Fine," Isabella lied, collapsing onto the couch beside him. Her phone buzzed. "Francesco, made it home safe?" She typed back. "Just got in. Thank you for tonight." "Thank you. Sleep well, Isabella." Another buzz, immediately after. "Emiliano, Status. Isabella stared at both messages, feeling split in two. Second date confirmed. She finally typed to Emiliano. Good. Get closer. I need information. His operations, his partners, his weaknesses. You have 2 weeks before I expect results. Isabella set the phone down, suddenly exhausted. You okay? Lucas asked. Yeah, just tired. But tired wasn't the right word. Compromised was. Confused was. Caught between two worlds with no idea which side she was supposed to be on. She just spent 2 hours with Francesco Russo, and he'd been kind, thoughtful, real, and she was going to destroy him. The heart is a traitor. It forms attachments the mind knows are dangerous. It finds humanity in targets, sees souls and marks. And when the moment comes to pull the trigger, the heart hesitates. And in that hesitation, everything changes. Isabella saw Francesco 4 times over the next week. Each meeting supposedly accidental, carefully orchestrated on her part. A chance encounter at a bookstore near his office. Running into him at a coffee shop she'd learned he frequented. Each time, he seemed genuinely happy to see her. Each time, the guilt became harder to carry. Thursday night, she was working her restaurant shift when her phone buzzed. Francesco, what are you doing Saturday? Her hands trembled as she typed back between tables. Working, probably. Why? Take the day off. Spend it with me. Isabella stared at the message. Saturday was his private day. The one part of his routine she hadn't been able to penetrate. He was inviting her into that space. Mission accomplished, she should have thought. Instead, what am I doing? I'd love to, she typed. But I really can't afford to miss work. I'll cover whatever you'd make. Please. I want to show you something. The offer was too generous, too revealing. This wasn't just a man interested in casual dating. This was someone lowering defenses, taking risks. She agreed. That night, she filed her report to Emiliano. Locations, patterns, associates she'd heard Francesco mention. Information that felt like betrayal with every word typed. Emiliano's response. Good. Keep going. I need access to his operations. Get him to trust you completely. Isabella lay awake until dawn, staring at her ceiling, wondering how far she'd have to go. How much of herself she'd have to surrender. Saturday arrived too quickly. At 9 a.m., a black Mercedes pulled up outside her building. Not Francesco's G-Class, but sedan with tinted windows. The driver handed her a note. Had to send my driver. Something came up at work. He'll bring you to me. Sorry for the mystery. F. The drive took 40 minutes, leaving Miami's urban sprawl behind, heading toward quieter areas. Isabella's nerves built with every mile. Where was he taking her? They pulled up to a gated property, a sprawling house set back from the road, surrounded by trees. Not a mansion, but substantial. Beautiful in an understated way. Francesco waited on the front steps, wearing jeans and a white t-shirt, looking younger and more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. You actually came, he said, smiling. You were very mysterious about it. I know. Sorry. I'm not usually good at this. He gestured to the house. This is my place. My real home, not the apartment in the city. I don't bring people here. The admission hung between them, vulnerable, significant. Why me? Isabella asked. Francesco looked at her for a long moment. Because you're different. You don't want anything from me. You didn't even know who I was that night. And when you talk to me, I feel like... He paused, searching for words. Like I'm just a person. Not a name, not a reputation. Just Francesco. The knife in Isabella's chest twisted deeper. He led her inside. The house was surprisingly warm. Exposed beams, comfortable furniture, artwork that looked collected over time rather than purchased by a decorator. Through the windows, she could see a pool, a garden, privacy. It's beautiful, Isabella said honestly. Thanks. My father always talked about having land. Space to breathe. I bought this 5 years ago. It's where I come when I need to remember who I am. They spent the morning cooking together. Francesco insisted on making her his father's Sicilian pasta recipe. In the kitchen, watching him move with unexpected grace, chopping garlic and crushing tomatoes, Isabella felt the mission slipping away. This was real. His laughter when she nearly burned the garlic. His patience teaching her to roll cavatelli. The way he talked about his father, a voice soft with grief and love. Over lunch, the pasta was incredible. They talked about everything. dreams, fears, the weight of family expectations. My father built his empire from nothing, Francesco said. But he also made enemies. Chose a life that got him killed. I inherited that empire, those enemies, that life. He met her eyes. Sometimes I wonder what I'd be if I'd had a choice. What would you choose? He smiled. Something simple. Maybe a restaurant. Actual legitimate restaurants, not fronts. The admission was startling in its honesty. Cooking makes sense. You follow a recipe, you get results. Not like my actual work. Which is... Francesco's expression shuddered slightly. Complicated. Let's just say I'm an import-export in real estate. Boring business stuff. The lie was there, but so was the desire to protect her from the truth. Isabella understood. She was doing the same thing. After lunch, they played chess by the pool. Francesco was good, but Isabella had spent years playing with her father. The game became competitive, playful, charged with unspoken tension. You're better than I expected, Francesco said, studying the board. I contain multitudes. He laughed. Clearly. Isabella won in 32 moves. Francesco looked delighted rather than annoyed. As the afternoon sun began to tilt toward evening, they ended up on the pool deck, drinking wine, talking about everything and nothing. The conversation drifted to relationships. Why are you single? Isabella asked. You're successful, handsome, clearly not lacking options. Francesco's expression darkened. I was engaged once. 3 years ago. Her name was Sophia. Beautiful, smart, seemed perfect. He paused. Turned out she was working for a rival. Using me to get information. Nearly destroyed everything. Isabella's blood went cold. The night I found out, Francesco continued, she admitted everything. Said she never cared. It was always just business. I trusted her completely. Told her things I'd never told anyone. His voice was flat, controlled, but Isabella could hear the wound beneath. Since then, I don't let people close. It's easier that way. I'm sorry, Isabella whispered, and meant it with every fiber of her being. It's fine. I learned my lesson. Trust is a luxury I can't afford. He looked at her. But being with you, I don't know. It feels different. You feel safe. The irony was unbearable. Isabella felt tears threatening and forced them back. I should tell you something, she said, the words escaping before she could stop them. What? This was the moment. She could confess everything. Emiliano, the debt, the manipulation. Burn it all down before she destroyed him the way Sophia had. But then she thought of Lucas's bruised face. Her mother's chemotherapy. The men who'd promised to start with fingers. Just, thank you, she said instead, the coward's choice. For today. For being kind. Francesco reached across the space between them, took her hand. You make it easy. That evening, they watched a movie in his home theater. Her choice, a Brazilian film she'd loved as a child. Francesco seemed genuinely interested, asking questions about the dialogue, the culture. Tell me about Brazil, he said. What do you miss most? The warmth. Not just the weather, the people, the way families stay close, how neighbors know each other. Isabella smiled sadly. Here, everyone's chasing something. There's no time for just being. I get that. My father used to talk about Sicily the same way. Said America gave us opportunities but took something too. Connection, maybe. They sat in comfortable silence as the movie played. At some point, Francesco's arm had found its way around her shoulders. It felt natural, right? When the credits rolled, he looked at her. Stay. What? Stay tonight. Not, he caught himself. I have guest rooms. I don't want you to leave yet. Isabella knew she should say no. This was moving too fast, getting too real. But she nodded anyway. They talked until midnight, sitting on his balcony under stars obscured by Miami's light pollution. About his childhood in Brooklyn, her childhood in Sao Paulo. About loss and survival and the price of ambition. And then Francesco told her something that changed everything. There's someone I need to tell you about, he said quietly. His name is Emiliano Rodriguez. Isabella's heart stopped. He's been trying to take over my territory for years. Dangerous man. Cartel connections. No conscience. Francesco's jaw tightened. Last month, he sent people after one of my warehouses. Destroyed millions in inventory. I've been preparing for war. War. Isabella's voice came out hoarse. Not literal. Business war. He wants what I have, and he'll use any method to get it. I've doubled security, cut off his supply lines, made it clear I won't back down. He looked at her. I'm telling you this because if you're going to be in my life, you need to know it's complicated. Maybe dangerous. I'd understand if. I'm not going anywhere, Isabella heard herself say. Francesco smiled, relieved. Good. Because I really like you, Isabella Cardoso. He kissed her then, soft, tentative, asking permission. Isabella kissed him back, tasting wine and wanting and a future that couldn't exist. They pulled apart, both breathless. Guest room, Francesco said, voice rough. Guest room, Isabella agreed. But neither of them moved. The tension between them was electric, undeniable. Or, Francesco said carefully, you could stay with me. If you want. No pressure. Isabella kissed him again, answering without words. They made love slowly, tenderly, like people afraid of breaking something precious. Francesco was gentle, attentive, making sure she was okay at every turn. Afterward, they lay tangled together, her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. I haven't felt this way in a long time, he murmured. Like I could trust someone. Isabella closed her eyes, tears finally escaping. Are you crying? Francesco lifted her chin, concerned. Did I? No. You were perfect. She searched for a lie that wouldn't hurt him. I'm happy. That's all. He kissed her forehead. Me too. They fell asleep like that, wrapped in each other, in a moment stolen from reality. But reality waited. At 3 a.m., Isabella woke, slipped out of bed carefully. She found her phone and her purse downstairs. 7 messages from Emiliano, each more threatening than the last. Where are you? Report in immediately. Isabella, don't make me remind you what's at stake. She typed. Everything's fine. Got closer. We'll report tomorrow. Emiliano, you're at his house. Well done. Give me details on his security, his operations, his schedule. Time to move to the next phase. Isabella stared at the phone, at the messages, at the life she was betraying upstairs. She was falling in love with Francesco Russo, and she was going to have to destroy him anyway. There's a moment in every deception where the lies become heavier than the truth, where the person you're pretending to be starts to feel more real than whoever you were before. And you have to choose, confession or catastrophe. Sunday morning, Isabella woke to sunlight streaming through Francesco's bedroom windows and the smell of coffee. She found him on the balcony, 2 cups waiting, watching the morning with a contentment she'd never seen on his face. Good morning, he said, pulling her close. Sleep okay? Better than I have in months. It was true. Despite everything, despite the guilt that lived in her chest like a second heart, she'd slept peacefully in his arms. They spent the morning in comfortable domesticity. Breakfast. Lazy conversation. Francesco showing her around the property, gardens his father had planned but never lived to see, a greenhouse where he grew herbs for cooking. I never show people this, he said, leading her through rows of basil and oregano. It's too, I don't know, soft. It's beautiful. Why hide it? Because in my world, soft is weak. Soft gets you killed. He plucked a basil leaf, handed it to her. But with you, I feel like I can be soft. Like I can be something other than what I've had to become. Isabella crushed the basil between her fingers, the scent sharp and clean. What if who you've had to become isn't who you really are? Then maybe you're helping me remember. At noon, Francesco's driver arrived to take her home. The ride back to reality felt like descending from a mountain peak, each mile bringing her closer to the person she'd been trying to forget. At her apartment, Lucas was waiting, worry etched across his face. Where were you? I was calling. My phone died. I'm fine. Bella, you've been gone since yesterday morning. You never do that. What's happening? She looked at her younger brother, still so young despite everything, despite the beating, despite the debt that had started this nightmare. I'm fixing things, she said. That's all you need to know. But Lucas wasn't fooled. You're different. You look, I don't know, scared. I'm tired, Lucas. That's all. She locked herself in her room, finally confronting her phone. 15 messages from Emiliano, each more demanding. She called him. About fucking time, he answered. Where have you been? At Francesco's house. All weekend. Getting close, like you asked. How close? Isabella's silence was answer enough. Emiliano laughed, the sound vicious. Well, using all your assets. Good. Now I need details. His security systems, his safe locations, his schedule for the next 2 weeks. And I need the name of his right-hand man. What? Don't question me, Querida. Your brother's alive because of my generosity. Don't test my patience. Isabella's mind raced. She'd seen Francesco's security, cameras, guards, sophisticated systems. She knew his schedule, had memorized it over weeks of observation. And his right-hand man, Matteo. She'd heard Francesco mention him multiple times. I need more time, she said. He's careful. If I push too hard, you have 72 hours. Give me what I need, or we move to Plan B. What's Plan B? Hurting your brother in ways that will make his first beating look like a massage. Then we start on your mother in Sao Paulo. I have people everywhere, Isabella. Everywhere. The line went dead. Isabella sat on her bed, shaking. This was spiraling beyond her control. Emiliano wasn't just using her for information. He was planning something specific. An attack. Maybe worse. And Francesco had no idea. The next 3 days were torture. Isabella went through her routines mechanically. Work, classes, texts with Francesco that felt like lies made of words. Tuesday night, Francesco took her to dinner at one of his restaurants. A private room, just them, food that tasted like ashes in her mouth. You seem distant, he observed. Everything okay? Just tired. School stress. He reached across the table, took her hand. If something's wrong, you can tell me. I'm here. The kindness was unbearable. Wednesday, Isabella saw something that made her blood run cold. At her afternoon cleaning job, an office building downtown, she was emptying trash when she overheard a conversation. Rodriguez wants it done Friday night. When the club's full. Maximum impact. 2 men in expensive suits, talking low. She recognized one from surveillance photos. Emiliano's lieutenant. They were planning to hit Paradiso, Francesco's club, where hundreds of innocent people would be. Isabella finished cleaning on autopilot, her mind screaming. This wasn't just corporate espionage. This was violence. Real violence. That evening, she met Francesco at his apartment in the city. He'd invited her for a quiet night, cooking together, watching movies, normal couple things. But nothing about this was normal. As Francesco chopped vegetables, talking about his day, Isabella made a decision. She couldn't do this anymore. Francesco, she said, her voice shaking. I need to tell you something. He looked up, immediately alert to her tone. What's wrong? Everything. Everything is wrong. Her phone rang. Lucas. Bella. They're here. The men are here. They're saying. Screaming in the background. A crash. Then Lucas's scream. Cut short. Different voice on the line. Accented. Cruel. You have until midnight, Isabella. Everything I asked for, or your brother dies. Slowly. And you'll listen to every second. The line went dead. Isabella looked at Francesco, at his concerned expression, at the man she'd fallen in love with while plotting his destruction. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. For what? Isabella, what's happening? They have my brother. They're going to kill him. And it's my fault. All of it is my fault. Francesco set down the knife, moved toward her. Who is your brother? Tell me what's going on. And Isabella broke. The whole story spilled out. Lucas's debt, Emiliano's ultimatum, the impossible choice. The seduction, the spying, the information she'd been feeding to Francesco's enemy. I was supposed to destroy you, she sobbed. Get close. Learn your weaknesses. Help him take you down. That was the deal. Your life for my brothers. And I tried. I really tried to just see you as a target. But you're not. You're kind and good and I've fallen in love with you. And now they're going to kill Lucas and probably me too. And you'll hate me forever, and I deserve it. Isabella. Stop. Francesco's voice cut through a spiral. His face was unreadable. How long? What? How long have you been working for Emiliano? Since before we met. The wine at Lombardi's. That was planned. All of it was planned. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Francesco stepped back, and Isabella watched something die in his eyes. The openness, the trust, gone, replaced by the cold calculation she'd seen in surveillance photos. You're just like her, he said quietly. Just like Sophia. Playing me. Using me. No. I mean, yes, at first, but then what? You actually fell for me. His laugh was bitter. That's what Sophia said too, right up until she admitted it was all lies. Francesco, please. Get out. They'll kill my brother. That's not my problem. His voice was ice. You made your choices. You lied to me. Used me. For weeks. Everything we shared was real. For me, it became real. I don't believe you. Francesco turned away. I want you gone. Now. And if I ever see you again, if you ever come near me or my business. Isabella's phone rang again. Emiliano. She answered, her hand shaking. Please, don't hurt him. I'll get you everything. Too late, querida. You failed. Time for consequences. But first. Emiliano's voice shifted to amusement. First, I think Francesco should know about the attack we have planned for his club. Friday night, 9 p.m. Explosives in the VIP section. Should be quite a show. What? You said. I said a lot of things. You really thought I'd forgive the debt. Sweet girl. Your brother dies. You die. And Francesco's empire burns. Everyone loses. Isn't that poetic? The line went dead. Isabella looked at Francesco, at his cold expression, at the man she destroyed. He's going to bomb Paradiso, she said. Friday, 9 p.m. There'll be hundreds of people there. Innocent people. Another lie. Francesco, I know you hate me. I know I deserve it. But please, you have to believe me about this. He's insane. He wants you dead, and he doesn't care who else dies. She showed him her phone, Emiliano's number, the call history, everything. Francesco stared at the evidence, his expression unreadable. Please, Isabella whispered. Save your people. Save yourself. And if you can, my brother. I should let you both die. I know. Francesco was silent for a long moment. Then he pulled out his own phone, dialed. Matteo, we have a problem. Get everyone to the safe house. Now. And put a team on. He looked at Isabella. Where's your brother? She gave the address, through tears. Send a team there. Armed. Hostile situation. Extract Lucas Cardoso. Eliminate threats. He paused. And call our contact at Metro PD. Tell them we have intel on Emiliano Rodriguez. Location, plans, everything. He hung up, looked at Isabella with eyes that held no warmth. I'm saving your brother because he's an innocent kid who made a mistake. And I'm stopping Emiliano because he threatened my people. But you and me, we're done. After tonight, I never want to see you again. Francesco, you broke me, Isabella. Just like she did. Congratulations. The next hours were chaos. Francesco's men descended on her apartment building, extracting Lucas in a firefight that left 2 of Emiliano's men dead. Police raided Emiliano's operations across the city, armed with information Francesco had been collecting for years. And Isabella sat in Francesco's apartment, guarded by one of his men, waiting to learn if her brother was alive. At 3 a.m., Matteo returned. The kid's safe. Roughed up, but alive. And Rodriguez is in custody. They got him at his club with enough evidence to put him away for life. Isabella broke down sobbing. Relief, grief, guilt, everything at once. When Francesco returned at dawn, he looked exhausted. Your brother's at a hospital. He'll be fine. His voice was professional, distant. Emiliano's empire is finished. The bombing's been prevented. My people are safe. Thank you, Isabella whispered. Don't. Just. He ran a hand through his hair. Just go. Take your brother and go. Disappear. Forget you ever met me. I love you. The words hung there, true and useless. Francesco looked at her with infinite sadness. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. I'll never know, will I? That's what you took from me. The ability to trust you. To trust anyone. He walked to the door, opened it. Goodbye, Isabella. She left, her heart shattered, knowing she'd save her brother, but lost something infinitely precious. And wondering if redemption was even possible. Some wounds don't heal. They scar over, yes, but beneath the surface, they remain tender, ready to tear open at the slightest touch. And some betrayals cut so deep that forgiveness feels like a myth we tell ourselves to sleep at night. 3 days passed in a haze of antiseptic and fluorescent lights. Lucas was recovering in a private hospital room, mysteriously paid for, though Isabella knew Francesco's hand was behind it. Her brother's physical injuries would heal, bruised ribs, a concussion, cuts that would fade to pale lines. But the guilt in his eyes, That might be permanent. I'm sorry, he kept saying, over and over, like a prayer that wouldn't take. Bella, I'm so sorry. I ruined everything. Isabella held his hand, unable to articulate how complicated everything had become. Yes, Lucas's mistake had started the avalanche. But her choices, her lies, her betrayals, had caused a different kind of destruction. She'd saved him, and lost herself in the process. The legal fallout was swift and brutal. Emiliano Rodriguez was charged with racketeering, attempted murder, weapons trafficking, and a dozen other crimes. The evidence Francesco had provided, years of careful documentation, was airtight. Miami's news covered it constantly. The fall of a criminal empire. A victory for law enforcement. Francesco Russo's name appeared in several articles as a concerned businessman who provided crucial information. The irony would have been funny if Isabella had any laughter left. She went through motions, classes, her shifts, she kept them all, needing the routine, the distraction. But everything felt muted, like watching her life through frosted glass. Francesco hadn't contacted her once. On the fourth day, Matteo appeared at the hospital. Lucas tensed immediately, but Isabella recognized Francesco's second-in-command from photos, from overheard conversations. Relax, kid, Matteo said. I'm here to talk, not hurt anyone. He handed Isabella an envelope. Inside, a cashier's check. $50,000. What is this? Hospital bills. Your brother's recovery costs. Consider it settled. Matteo's expression was unreadable. Also, Emiliano's assets are being liquidated. Victims of his various crimes are being compensated. Your brother qualifies. He'll receive the $200,000 he owed, plus damages. Lucas made a sound, half sob, half disbelief. What? Isabella asked. Why would Francesco? He didn't want you drowning in debt. Said it wasn't fair, even if. Matteo paused. Even if other things were complicated. Is he okay? Matteo's look said everything. He's Francesco. He'll survive. He always does. He headed for the door, then stopped. For what it's worth. I've worked for him for 10 years. Never seen him let anyone in like he did with you. Not since Sophia. Whatever you were to him, it was real on his end. It was real on mine too. Then you're both just tragic, aren't you? After Matteo left, Isabella couldn't stop staring at the check. Francesco was still taking care of them. Even after everything. Even hating her. That evening, she made a decision. She went to Paradiso. The club was closed, still under investigation. Though no bomb had been found, no attack had occurred. Isabella stood outside, staring at the darkened building, gathering courage. A figure emerged from the shadows. Matteo again. He's not here, he said. Where is he? Doesn't matter. He doesn't want to see you. I need to talk to him. To explain. Explain what? That you lied for weeks? That every moment was calculated. He knows all that already. Isabella's frustration boiled over. It wasn't all lies. Yes, I was sent to seduce him. Yes, I was supposed to spy. But I fell in love with him. Everything after those first few days. The conversations, the laughter, the night at his house. That was real. Was it? Matteo's voice was gentle but cutting. Because from where he's standing, he can't tell the difference. That's what you took from him. Not information. Not security. Trust. The ability to believe someone could want him for him. Not what he has or who he is. The truth of it hit Isabella like a physical blow. How do I fix this? She whispered. I don't know if you can. But Matteo relented, pulling out his phone. He's at the house. His real house. But Isabella? If you go there, if you do this, don't make it worse. Don't give him hope if you can't follow through. He gave her the address. The same place where she'd spent that perfect weekend that felt like a lifetime ago. Isabella took an Uber, the drive stretching endlessly. Darkness had fallen, and the city lights gave way to suburban quiet, then finally to the gated property. The gates were open. An invitation? Or oversight? She walked up the long driveway, her heart pounding. The house was lit from within, warm and beautiful and utterly unreachable. Francesco sat on the front steps, a glass of whiskey in hand, staring at nothing. He looked up as she approached, and the pain in his eyes nearly stopped her. I told Matteo I didn't want to see you. I know. I'm sorry. I'm here anyway. Francesco laughed bitterly. Of course you are. Stubborn. Isabella sat beside him, Not too close, respecting the distance. I need you to hear me. Really hear me. I've heard enough lies. Then hear the truth. She took a breath. Everything started as manipulation. You're right about that. I was sent to seduce you, to destroy you. My brother was going to die, and I was desperate and terrified, and I made a choice I'll regret forever. Francesco said nothing, just sipped his whiskey. But somewhere between that first night at Lombardi's and that weekend here, I fell in love with you. Actually, completely, terrifyingly in love. The conversations weren't fake. The chess game wasn't fake. When we made love, that wasn't fake. Every moment I spent with you, I was fighting between my mission and my heart. And your mission won. No, my heart won. That's why I told you everything. I could have kept lying, kept feeding information to Emiliano, saved my brother without you ever knowing. But I couldn't, because the thought of you being hurt, of those people at your club being killed, was unbearable. So brave, Francesco said sarcastically. You confessed after being forced to. After your plan fell apart. That's not courage, Isabella. That's survival. You're right. She didn't argue. I was a coward. I should have told you sooner. Should have refused Emiliano from the beginning. Should have found another way. I made terrible choices, and you paid for them. So why are you here? Because I'm in love with you. Because every day since you told me to leave, I felt like I'm missing a limb. Because I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for it anyway. Tears streamed down her face. Because maybe, just maybe, you feel something for me too. Something real that survived everything. Francesco finally looked at her. You want to know what I feel? Yes. I feel betrayed. I feel stupid for trusting you. I feel like I'm back in that moment with Sophia, realizing the woman I loved was playing me. His voice broke. But I also still love you. And I hate myself for it. I hate that I can't stop thinking about you, worrying if you're okay, wondering if any of it was real. It was real, Isabella insisted. Francesco, how do I believe you? Tell me how I ever trust you again. Isabella had thought about this during the sleepless nights. You don't. Not right away. Trust is earned. So let me earn it. Let me prove, every day, that I'm not her. That I'm not using you. That I love you for who you are, not what you can give me. That could take years. I have years. Francesco laughed, but there was something lighter in it now. Less bitter. You're insane. You know that. Probably. I'm in love with a man who terrifies me and inspires me in equal measure. A man who grows basil in a greenhouse and runs an empire. A man who showed me kindness when I deserved nothing. So yes. Insane. They sat in silence. The night air thick with possibility and pain. I have conditions, Francesco finally said. Isabella's heart leaped. Anything. No more lies. Ever. I don't care how bad the truth is, you tell me. Everything. Okay. You finish law school. That dream you talked about, helping people, you do that. I don't want you in my world. You stay clean. But those are the conditions, Isabella. Take them or leave. She understood. He was protecting her, drawing a line between his darkness and her potential light. Okay, she agreed. What else? We start over. Slow. Like we're strangers meeting for the first time. I need to learn who you really are. Not the spy. Not the desperate sister. You. And you need to learn who I really am. All of it. The good and the ugly. I want that. Francesco turned to face her fully. And if at any point I can't do this, if the trust won't come back, you let me go. No dramatics. No begging. You just let me walk away. The condition hurt, but Isabella nodded. If that's what you need. It is. They looked at each other, two broken people trying to imagine being whole. So, Isabella said softly, Hi, I'm Isabella Cardoso. I'm 24. I'm from Sao Paulo. I work too much and sleep too little. I love my family fiercely, sometimes stupidly. I make terrible decisions when I'm scared. And I think you're the most interesting person I've ever met. A ghost of a smile touched Francesco's lips. Hi, I'm Francesco Russo, 32, from Brooklyn. I inherited a business I didn't want from a father I loved. I'm cynical and guarded. I grow herbs in a greenhouse because it's the only thing that makes sense. And you terrify me. Good terrifying or bad terrifying? Both. Isabella smiled through her tears. Can I kiss you? Or is that against the rules? Francesco considered. One kiss. To seal the deal. Then we take things slow. Really slow. She leaned in, and their lips met, gentle, tentative, tasting of whiskey and salt and second chances. When they pulled apart, Francesco said, "This won't be easy. I know. I might never fully trust you again. I know. But I want to try. God help me, I want to try." Isabella took his hand, and he led her. "That's all I'm asking." They sat there under the stars, two people bound by lies but reaching for truth, wondering if love could be stronger than betrayal. Time would tell. But at least now they had time. Healing isn't linear. It's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, dancing on the edge of old wounds while trying to build something new. It's choosing, every day, to try again, even when every instinct screams to run. The first month was impossibly hard. Francesco kept his word about starting over, which meant Isabella saw him once a week. Coffee dates, dinner, short conversations that felt simultaneously too formal and too charged. He was relearning her. She could feel him watching, analyzing every word, searching for the lie beneath the truth. Sometimes the scrutiny felt unbearable. "What are you thinking?" she asked one evening over Italian food, a different restaurant, neutral territory. "I'm thinking you order the margherita pizza every time we eat Italian. I'm wondering if that's real or calculated." "It's real," Isabella said quietly. "It's what my father used to order. Simple food. He said you could judge a restaurant by how they treated simple things." Francesco nodded, filing this away. "Tell me something else. Something you never told me before." "I'm afraid of thunderstorms. I've been since I was a kid. When it storms, I can't sleep." "Why?" "My father died during a storm. I associate the thunder with losing him." Francesco's expression softened. "I didn't know that. You never asked." It became their ritual. Each date, exchanging truths, building a foundation from scratch. Meanwhile, Isabella's life was transforming in unexpected ways. Lucas had recovered physically and was seeing a therapist, also mysteriously paid for. He'd enrolled in community college, determined to make something of his second chance. "I'm going to make this right," he told Isabella repeatedly. "Everything you did, everything you risked, I'm going to be worth it." "You already are," she assured him. But the guilt lived in both of them now, a shared burden. Isabella's schedule intensified. With the debt forgiven and some savings from Francesco's gift, she tried to refuse it. He'd refused her refusal. She cut down to one job, the restaurant, where tips were best, and focused on her studies. Criminal law took on new resonance. She'd seen both sides now, the criminals like Emiliano, the complicated men like Francesco, the system trying to navigate between justice and reality. Her professor assigned a paper on moral complexity in criminal enterprises. Isabella wrote about how circumstances could push good people toward bad choices, how desperation bred compromise, how the world wasn't divided cleanly into good and evil. She got an A. And a note. Personal experience? If only he knew. 6 weeks into their starting over, Francesco invited Isabella to Paradiso's reopening. The club had been thoroughly inspected, cleared, and upgraded. Tonight was its grand return. "I want you there," he said. "But I'll understand if crowds aren't your thing, or if. I'll be there." Isabella wore the same black dress from that first night at Lombardi's, a deliberate choice. When Francesco saw her, something flickered in his eyes. Recognition. Memory. "You wore that dress the night we met." "I know." "Why?" "Because that night, I was lying but didn't know I'd fall in love. Tonight, I'm telling the truth and hoping you'll believe me." Seemed symmetrical. Francesco smiled. A real smile, the first in weeks. "You're something else, Isabella Cardoso." Paradiso was packed. Beautiful people, expensive drinks, music that made your bones vibrate. Francesco moved through the crowd with easy authority, greeting regulars, checking details. Isabella watched him work, seeing him fully for the first time. This was his element. He was good at this, creating spaces where people felt special, managing chaos with quiet competence. Around midnight, he found her at the bar, having fun, observing. "You're impressive at this." "It's just business." "No," Isabella countered. "It's more. You create experiences. You make people feel seen. That's art, Francesco." He looked at her, something shifting. "You really see me, don't you? Not the reputation, not the empire. Me. Always." The moment stretched between them, electric. Then Francesco's phone buzzed. He checked it, and his expression hardened. I need to handle something. Will you be okay here? Of course. Go. She watched him disappear into the VIP section, surrounded by men in suits. Business. His other world. The one he'd asked her to stay separate from. Isabella respected the boundary, but she also understood it was a wall between them, something that would always keep her at a distance. An hour later, Francesco returned, looking tired. Everything okay? She asked. Yes. No. It's complicated. He ran a hand through his hair. There's a lot you don't know about what I do. About the choices I make. Do you want me to know? Francesco studied her. I don't want you involved. It's dangerous. Messy. You're studying law to help people. That's clean. Good. I don't want my dirt on you. What if I'm not afraid of dirt? You should be. He leaned closer. Isabella, I've done things. Bad things. Things that would make you see me differently. Try me. Francesco looked around the club, his creation, his mask. Not here. Come on. He led her outside to his car, drove them to the house. In the greenhouse, their place now, he finally spoke. My father's empire wasn't just construction and real estate. He ran protection rackets, gambling, some drug distribution. When he died, I inherited all of it, and I had a choice: dismantle everything and honor his memory, or keep it running and protect the people who depended on it. You chose to keep it. I chose to keep it, Francesco confirmed. But I also chose to clean it up. Slowly. The drugs stopped immediately. I wouldn't touch that. The gambling became legitimate casinos. The protection became actual security services. It took years, but I've transformed most of it. Most. Some things. He paused. Some things are still gray. Money laundering for clients who pay well. Information brokering. Helping people, not all of them good people, solve problems. Isabella processed this. Why are you telling me? Because if we're going to do this, really do this, you need to know who I am, what I am, and decide if you can live with it. Can you live with it? The question clearly surprised him. What? You sound like you're defending yourself. But I'm asking, can you live with the gray areas? Or do they haunt you? Francesco was quiet for a long time. They haunt me. Every decision. Every compromise. I tell myself I'm better than my father, that I'm moving toward legitimate business. But some days I'm not sure. Isabella moved closer. Then keep moving. Keep choosing better. That's all any of us can do. It's not that simple. It never is. She took his hands. Francesco, I'm not naive. I know you're not a saint. I've seen the world you operate in. But I also know you protected those waitresses at your club. You saved my brother. You brought down Emiliano. You grow basil because it makes you happy. You're complicated. Human. And I love you anyway. Ow. The question came out raw. How can you love someone like me after what you've seen? How can you love someone like me after what I did? They stared at each other, both damaged, both trying. Francesco pulled her close, kissed her with a desperation that spoke of months of restraint breaking. Isabella kissed back, pouring everything into it. Apology, promise, hope. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Francesco rested his forehead against hers. I want this to work, he whispered. I'm terrified it won't. But I want it. Me too. Stay tonight. Really stay. Not the guest room. Not separate. I want to fall asleep with you and wake up with you and pretend, for a few hours, that we're just two normal people. We'll never be normal. Then let's be extraordinary instead. They made love slowly, relearning each other's bodies, erasing the memory of that first time, tainted by lies. This was different, honest, vulnerable, two people choosing each other despite everything. Afterward, wrapped in each other, Francesco said something that changed everything. Move in with me. Isabella pulled back. What? Not right now. Not immediately. But soon. I want you here. I want to come home to you. I want this to be our place, not mine. That's a big step. I know. But I'm tired of slow. I'm tired of pretending I'm not completely in love with you. I'm tired of protecting myself when all I want is to be unprotected with you. Isabella felt tears coming. Happy ones this time. Ask me again in a month, she said. Give me time to finish this semester. To make sure Lucas is stable. To be sure this is what you really want. It's what I really want. Then ask me in a month. Francesco smiled. Deal. They fell asleep like that, tangled together, two broken people building something whole. Outside, The world continued its complicated dance, crime and justice, love and betrayal, past and future. But in this moment, in this greenhouse surrounded by basil and hope, they had each other. And maybe that was enough to start. Endings are just beginnings wearing different clothes. We arrive at them transformed, carrying scars like maps of where we've been. And if we're lucky, if we're very, very lucky, we arrive at them together. 1 year later, Isabella Cardoso stood in a Miami courtroom, wearing a suit she'd bought with her first paycheck from the public defender's office. Her law degree, earned through night classes and determination, hung framed in her small office, small, but hers. Today she was defending a 19-year-old kid charged with possession, a kid whose story sounded familiar. Immigrant family, desperate choices, consequences spiraling out of control. Your Honor, she argued, my client made a mistake. One mistake. But he's also supporting his family, attending community college, and doing everything right except this one thing. He deserves a second chance. A path forward that doesn't include a record that will follow him forever. The judge looked skeptical but thoughtful. Ms. Cardoso, you're asking for leniency in a case with clear evidence. I'm asking for justice, Your Honor, which isn't always the same as punishment. When the judge agreed to probation instead of jail time, Isabella felt something settle in her chest. Purpose. This was why she'd survived everything. To be standing here, fighting for people who needed someone to fight for them. Outside the courthouse, her client hugged her, crying. Thank you. Thank you so much. Stay clean, Isabella told him. Finish school. Make this second chance count. She checked her phone. A text from Francesco. How'd it go? 1, she typed back. He gets probation. Proud of you. See you tonight. Tonight. Their anniversary. 1 year since she'd sat on his front steps and asked for forgiveness. 1 year of slowly rebuilding trust, of choosing each other daily, of learning that love wasn't the absence of problems but the commitment to solving them together. Isabella drove to the house, their house now. She'd moved in 6 months ago, her belongings mixing with his, creating a space that belonged to both of them. The greenhouse had become her study space, where she prepared cases surrounded by basil and oregano. Francesco was already home, cooking. He'd taken to making dinner several nights a week, finding peace in the ritual. Smells amazing, Isabella said, wrapping her arms around him from behind. He turned, kissed her forehead. Congratulations on the win. Tell me about it. Over dinner, his father's Sicilian pasta, still her favorite, Isabella recounted the case. Francesco listened with genuine interest, asking questions, celebrating her victory. This was their ritual now, sharing days, supporting each other, maintaining the separate but parallel lives they'd built. Francesco had continued transforming his business, now operating almost entirely legitimate enterprises. Almost. I have something to tell you, he said as they cleaned dishes together. Isabella's stomach tightened. Good or bad? Complicated. Francesco dried his hands. Matteo's been tracking something. Someone from Emiliano's old organization has been making moves, trying to rebuild. Should I be worried? No. I'm handling it. But, he paused. I wanted you to know. No secrets, remember. The commitment to transparency had been hard, but necessary. Francesco told her about his business dealings. Not everything, but enough. She told him about her cases, her struggles, her doubts. I appreciate you telling me, Isabella said. Do you need help? Legal help? Maybe. Let me see how it plays out. He pulled her close. But having a lawyer girlfriend has its perks. Girlfriend? Isabella raised an eyebrow. After a year, I think I've graduated to something more significant. Oh, what would you prefer? Partner? Significant other? That woman who completely destroyed and rebuilt my ability to trust. Isabella laughed. All of the above. They moved to the balcony, watching Miami's sunset paint the sky orange and pink. In the distance, the city hummed with life. Complicated, messy, beautiful life. Do you ever regret it? Francesco asked quietly. Choosing me? Staying in this complicated situation? Isabella considered. I regret how we started. I regret the lies. But choosing you? Staying? Never. Not once. Even though I'm not entirely legitimate. Even though there are parts of my life you can't be involved in. Even though. She turned to face him. You're a good man, making hard choices in a complicated world. That's all any of us are doing. And you're trying. Getting better. That's what matters. Francesco smiled. When did you get so wise? Law school. Excellent wisdom distribution program. He laughed, then grew serious. I have something else to tell you. Or rather, ask you. Okay. Francesco reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box. Isabella's breath caught. Before you panic, he said quickly, I know it's complicated. I know we're still rebuilding. I know there are 1,000 reasons this might be crazy. But, he opened the box. A ring. Simple, elegant. A single diamond that caught the sunset light. Isabella Cardoso, you destroyed me. Then you put me back together. You made me believe in second chances. In redemption. In the possibility that someone could actually love me for me. Not despite my flaws, but including them. And I can't imagine my life without you anymore. So I'm asking. Yes. Isabella interrupted, tears streaming down her face. I didn't finish the question. Yes anyway. Yes to whatever you're asking. Yes to you. Always yes to you. Francesco smiled, slid the ring onto her finger. You're supposed to let me do the romantic speech. Too bad. I'm impatient. He kissed her, and it tasted like futures and promises and the kind of love that survives fires. When they pulled apart, both laughing through tears, Francesco said, You know this won't be easy, right? Marrying someone like me. Nothing about us has been easy. Why start now? Fair point. They stood there, engaged, terrified, hopeful. Two people bound by lies that had somehow transformed into the truest thing either had ever known. Inside, Isabella's phone rang. Lucas, calling from Boston where he was finishing his sophomore year at university, paid for by scholarships and part-time work, rebuilding his life one semester at a time. Hey, little brother. What's up? Just calling to check in. How was court? Good. Really good. And guess what? What? Isabella looked at Francesco, at her ring, at the life they'd built from ashes. I'm getting married. Lucas's whoop of joy was loud enough to make Francesco hear it across the balcony. Finally, I thought he'd never ask. When? Can I? Of course you can be there. We're thinking small. Just family and close friends. After she hung up, Isabella realized something. She needed to call her mother in Sao Paulo, who'd been healthy for 8 months now. The cancer in remission, treatments working. Her mother had met Francesco twice via video calls, seen how he looked at Isabella, approved with a mother's instinct. She'll cry, Francesco predicted. Obviously. It's what mothers do. The call was exactly as predicted. Tears, blessings, excitement. Her mother's happiness was another piece of healing, another sign that maybe they'd all survive the nightmare. As evening deepened into night, Isabella and Francesco ended up back in the greenhouse, sitting among the herbs, talking about futures. I want kids, Francesco said suddenly. Someday. Not now. But eventually. Me too. And I want them to have better choices than we did. Better options. A cleaner world. Then we keep building that world, Isabella said simply. Together. Francesco took her hand, the one with the ring. I never thought I'd be here. After Sophia. After learning that trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. I thought I was done. Alone forever. And now I'm terrified and hopeful in equal measure. You taught me that was possible. Being both at once. Isabella leaned against him, breathing in basil and his cologne and the scent of soil and growth. Tell me something, she said. Do you forgive me? Really, truly forgive me for everything at the beginning. Francesco was quiet for a long moment. I'm working on it. Some days it's easier than others. Some days I wake up and remember the lies and it hurts all over again. But then I look at you. Actually you, not the person you were pretending to be. And I remember why I'm trying. Yes, Isabella. I forgive you. And I love you. Both at once. Thank you. For what? For giving me a second chance when you didn't have to. For seeing past the worst thing I've ever done to the person I'm trying to be. You do the same for me. I would. I will. Whatever comes next, I'm here. They sat in comfortable silence. Two people who'd found each other through fire, who'd chosen each other despite every reason not to, who'd built something real from the wreckage of lies. In the distance, Miami glittered, a city of second chances, of reinvention, of people becoming who they needed to be. And in a greenhouse full of herbs, beneath a sky full of stars, Two people held each other and believed in tomorrow. Because love, real love, the kind that survives betrayal and doubt and fear, wasn't about perfection. It was about showing up, trying again, choosing each other when walking away would be easier. Isabella Cardoso had come to America looking for opportunity. She'd found it, but not in the way she'd imagined. She'd found it in the eyes of a man who grew basil and built empires, who'd been broken and chose to heal, who loved her despite, and because of, everything. And Francesco Russo, who'd spent years protecting himself, had found something he'd stopped believing in. Someone who saw all of him and chose to stay anyway. They weren't perfect. Their story wasn't clean, but it was theirs. And in the end, maybe that was the only thing that mattered. So that's how it happened. How a debt became a deception. How a deception became love. How love became redemption. Not easy, not simple, but real. Because the best stories aren't about people who never fall. They're about people who fall and choose to get back up. Together, despite everything. And if you're very lucky, if fate and choice and timing align, you get a second chance to be the person you always wanted to be. With someone who makes you want to try.